Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mana on the Rocks. It is I, the guy who goes missing for a week and then comes back a week later, Joe. Joining me, as always, my partner in crime, who disappears just as much as I do, Atlas.
Hello, everybody.
And this week we are talking about player growth, level up moments, kind of the journey of CDH. I've been going through one heck of a journey. I feel like I've been learning a lot, progressing my gameplay, and Atlas is also always improving, always trying to do better. And I think it's important to take a moment and just reflect on where you've come and the lessons you've learned. Trying to dispense whatever wisdom I've collected in the meantime.
Speaking of meantime, here's Atlas with the announcements.
Hello. All right, announcement time. So, got a couple of interesting things. First and foremost, go through our tournament schedule. We have a couple of appearances we'll be making here. Both myself and Joe are going to be at the Fall Brawl in Issaquah, Washington, held up at the Laughing Dragon shop there on October 7th.
Very excited for this one.
Yes, it's a great group of people. Going to be a lot of fun. This will be my third time showing up there. This will be Joe's first appearance.
Mm-hmm.
So, come, say hi. Let's play some games. Let's have a great time there. So, really looking forward to that. And then we got the next month. I don't think there are many other tournaments that I'm aware of. So, drop us a line if you have anything else in the Seattle, Oregon area for other tournaments going on in October, because I'm always interested in going to those. Joe does when he can.
Mm-hmm.
And going into November, I know that we have our local majors coming up. It's going to be Gabby's Olympic Cards and Comics is going to be hosting a competitive REL Commander tournament on
November 4th.
November 4th. Yeah, thank you. That's a Saturday. So November 4th, that will be a 10 proxy limit, which is new to that shop.
We're making progress, baby.
I know.
I'm
very excited. Typically, it's been no proxies, but this time going forwards, they're going to allow 10 proxies that are printed on cardstock. There are some specific things to look up with what they're looking for in terms of proxies, but it's going to be a lot more accessible for a lot of people. So I'm looking forward to that, and all the great competition that'll bring. So that's on November 4th, and then just a week and a half, 2 weeks after that, on November 18th and 19th, we're going to have the regional championships for the PDX CDH groups regional championship circuit. So I'm going to be there. I know that there will be a bunch of other players who have already qualified who are planning on showing up. Joe, I think you're planning to be there as well.
Fingers crossed. We will see.
Great. So there's a good chance that Joe will be there as well. And then, like I said, a bunch of really talented players are going to be showing up. It's going to be a really cool event, very large. I know there's a lot of stuff going on that particular weekend across the states, but this is going to be for the Pacific Northwest area. A lot of our really talented players will be showing up. Many of them have already qualified, but there'll also be anyone can show up as long as they pay the entry fee. It's like $60, something like that. It's going to be a 2-day event with a 100-player cap. So it's going to be a lot larger than many of the other tournaments going on in our area. So that's very exciting. If we're lucky, we might even see some people traveling from as far away as Idaho, or maybe even pull down from Lower Oregon or California. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and then that's our tournament breakdown coming up, so very exciting. Hit us up if you have any questions. And the way you can do that is going to be our Discord server that we're finally
in
putting
2023.
Online.
I finally have a Discord server.
Moving out of the Stone Age, thanks to Joe and some great work from our friend and constant supporter Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So we're setting that up. It should be live either the day this episode releases or just after.
It will be live. It will be in the description and in the show notes. So please,
let's go.
Come on in. Talk. We're gonna be hanging out in there. We're gonna be memeing. We're gonna be talking cards. You're gonna see me go crazy online. It's always a fun time in the Discord.
Yeah.
world.
So please join the server. Join the chat. Let us know what you want to hear as far as episodes go, because I don't know, some of you out there might have your own podcasts, but coming up with new topics every week can be a challenge. So
Dog
we'd love
content
to.
creation's a little bit tough sometimes.
We would love to hear what you would love to hear about.
Absolutely.
And then we can sort of like try and tailor our content to what y'all would like to hear.
Mhm.
So that, and then I think the last thing that we have going on is our Patreon should also be going live this week.
It should. So we want to start doing more, and doing more means we need to start putting money into it. So just going to be a $5 tier. We have no plans on introducing more tiers or changing the price. It's functionally going to serve as a tip jar. We want to start doing stickers. We want to start doing merch. We really want to start doing gameplay videos. This is just going to help like get the equipment, get the setup, get all of that necessary. It's going to go into production primarily, just to improve the overall quality, to create more interesting content. We wanna level up. This whole episode's about leveling up. This is us leveling up. So once again, in the description, in the show notes, do not feel pressured. It's literally just extra stuff. There's not gonna be much in terms of like gatekeeping from stuff. I don't really like doing that. I will mostly just be giving out like uncut stuff, or like talks, or we'll poll people. We have a couple of other ideas in the work, but this is just we want to do this more, and this is kind of the next step in that journey.
Yeah, so I think if that's everything that's left to cover in the announcements, I think Joe, you ready to go grab a drink?
I think I am, but if we're gonna be grabbing a drink, I would be a little remiss to not pour one out for the homie. In case you haven't heard, Sheldon Menery passed away the other week. He is the dude that made Commander. We would not be here without him. I'm a big believer in honoring those that came before and provided so much for so many people. So, to Sheldon, rest easy, King, and thank you for the good times. But
Let's pour one out. Let's grab a drink.
I've been thinking about that a lot recently.
Like, how so?
I don't know. I feel like, despite how downtrodden I've been, I feel like I have made reasonably significant growth in my play. I feel like I've become a much stronger player over like the last like 2 months. I don't really know what's changed, but I feel like I've been doing a lot better, been acting a lot better when it comes to the game. I don't know, just was thinking today, I'm like, what do I want to talk about? Like, what has been racking in my brain? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I've been getting better. I feel like a lot of us have been getting better. It was just kind of where my head was at.
Yeah. What do you think has been that trigger moment for you, like pushing you forward?
I think just like I think I've finally learned to let go of high power mentality and embrace CDH mentality, if that makes sense. I feel like for a decent amount of time I was like operating under like this, I'm gonna try and like, like break the format in my own like specific way, and like going against the grain too much. I feel like there's like a certain level of like going against the grain that I feel like is healthy and very, very productive. But I feel like if you turn too much into that, it becomes incredibly counterproductive.
Yeah, such as what? Like pulling out just like weird jank cards, or
weird jank card strategies that like require too much, or don't do enough, or get hard stopped by a specific stacks piece, or like folding to every piece of like interaction in the world, or like something like that. I think has really been like the kind of push forward, I guess. I don't know. I think that in combination of I think I'm tired of losing. That's definitely been the biggest thing, is I'm very much tired of losing, and I think a big part of that was my apprehension for playing 4-color, or 5-color, just because I feel like unless your 3-color commander is really, really good, I feel like your safer bet is just like relying on the strength of having almost all the colors at your disposal.
Are you saying that Big Dino is not very good?
Yeah.
Damn. That's unfortunate.
I think the Dino is really, really cool. I honestly think like Dino is like maybe like a couple of like, it doesn't have a Bowmasters, I think. It doesn't have like a really good way to like punish people for playing the game.
I don't know. I feel like it has one really good card already. Actually, two.
What are those?
Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora.
Okay, yeah, but like that's not like, I don't think your first instinct when you look at like Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora is Calibax is pretty cool with these cards. Right? Like it's a good control shell in like colors that are fine at control. And like I think just like Teamer needs better win cons, and like not having an outlet in the command zone is easily its biggest like downfall. Like Calmax is a great control piece, but it is hard to convert to a win, or like the wins that it converts to are so heavily reliant on cord that like if you stop the cord or you op the cord, you just don't win.
Yeah, I think that's true. I was kind of thinking about it, and I feel like because I was explaining to somebody like either last week or the week before, we were talking about their list, and they were saying I kind of want to change commanders. This doesn't really feel like it's doing all that much anymore, and it's a more fringe list. But we were talking about like why the commander maybe feels weaker a lot of the time, and it's because it's more of like a niche like specialty commander. Because the way I was breaking it down is I basically see the game as having like the competitive version of the game has three viable types of commanders. There's commanders that generate you advantage, commanders that provide a combo, or commanders that provide an enabler for some niche like specialist style strategy, right?
The synergy pick, if you will.
Yeah, something like that. So like for example, we'll go with like the like default best commanders or whatever, Timna and Crom. Great example of commanders that provide advantage. They draw you cards. They give you multiple colors. They are super duper strong. But similarly, other commanders that would also be considered, I would consider like totally viable and in that advantage category, because they don't have to draw you cards. I don't think they just have to provide you some sort of advantage. And so like another example would be Urza. Urza doesn't draw you cards per se, but he generates you mana advantage, which can be just as strong. And with the strategy that list goes for, with like stacks and breaking parity on static orb and winter orb and things like that, it's very, very strong to be able to generate mana off these artifacts and then also like break your parity. So you kind of like splits the difference between specialist and advantage commanders, and that's why he's really good. But I think that in general, and then I guess I should cover the other topic is like one card combos would be a like Godo, Najila, Tivit. Like that's pretty straightforward. Tivit splits the difference between both categories. He's a one card combo and generates advantage. One of the reasons that he's so crazy, draws you cards and makes you mana.
I would argue he fits in all three categories.
Yeah, honestly, I can see that.
Yeah, like he enables a one card combo. He provides mana advantage and card draw in the command zone. And he generates advantage because I feel like he fits all three categories.
Yeah, it's but I think like so if we're looking at commanders that are like classically considered the strongest, if they fall into the one of the two categories, they either generate advantage or they are going to provide you a very compact one card win condition, something along those lines. And so other cards that have been seeing play recently and like picking up results, we could see cards like Gearson Starn or something like what's another good example of like a specialist?
Hide, kinda a little bit.
Yeah, Hidetsugu and Kairi.
Check out the previous episode.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good example of like a more specialized commander. It's like leading towards that one card win condition style, but it is more specialized where it's like trying to do one specific thing, and it's not really doing much outside of that. Like outside of that, you're basically relying on the core of the list.
Yeah, you're relying on just like the raw power of your staples.
Yeah, exactly. Versus someone like Kenrith is going to provide you a lot of advantage.
Kind of does whatever,
cards.
Really.
Yeah, he draws you cards. He provides you damage advantage, which is something that's super overlooked. He provides you reanimation, like graveyard advantage. He provides you health advantage
either.
Yeah, it's a really flexible card. Thrasios provides a lot of card advantage. It can also provide ramp advantage by like dumping extra lands into play. Yeah, it's an outlet. I wasn't really counting outlets because like there's so many things that can be called outlets. In my opinion.
I feel like outlet is like one of the widest like entry points into these categories, because if your commander does or is like a sink for outlet or sink for like infinite mana, because that's the easiest outlet in the game, like that's, you can make the argument for so many commanders.
I mean, I would call Tivit an outlet if we're looking at it like that, but I don't think that lends anything to his classification. But that said, like, so look at Kinnan, for example. That card's been popping off lately. That card provides mana advantage, and it provides not directly, but it does provide card advantage. You can spin it, and it'll dump a fatty into play, or sometimes it'll just dump like the tutor card you need or something. So I think that those two categories really define what would be considered like tier 1, tier 2 commanders. And then things that are like tier 3 would be those other cards that are a little more niche. They're strong, they can definitely take games, but for the most part you're relying on the core of the deck to just be solid and good. And then or your opponents don't know how to play around the weird synergy that the specialist gives you, right? So like Gearson Starn, a lot of times it plays like crappy cards that like deal 1 damage in order to maximize its ability. Or you're like splitting the difference where you're playing 50% these crappy cards that deal 1 damage, so you deal 3 to multiple opponents or something like that. But also like then you also have to play good cards like Abrade and things to be able to take care of your Drannith Magistrates if Gearson's not in play. Or
bounce spells for the rule laws or
exactly.
something like that.
Your deck still has to be good enough without the commander, but you also like want to lean into these niches. So just an interesting dynamic that we were talking about. So
yeah, it's interesting because I initially came from like my mentality was like, oh well, like clearly like if I'm doing something that is efficient, deals with stuff, and plays on axes that take my opponents by surprise, I mean, so often games are determined by making your opponents like look away for a turn. Like that's literally all you need is you just need to make everybody do not pay attention to you and take advantage of your window, and then you just go from there. And I always thought, oh, well, if I just do that consistently, like I'm going to take the world by storm, right? And that's not really the case, and especially like in Rakdos, where like that's just not the play style. Like that just straight up isn't. I think that was the other thing that I had stuck in my head is I need to break how colors work in CDH, and I think that's good to a degree. But I don't. It's the going against the grain thing I mentioned earlier, where like I feel like that goes too much against the grain. Like Rakdos goes fast. That is the burr color. Like that is the we don't care. We are mulling aggressively to find something to essentially high roll the table is really what we're looking to do. And by shifting the play style with Chainer, sure you're not going to get blown out early, but you also don't win late or have like late game value. So at that point, like you're kind of just dead weight to the table.
It's like a really safe pick that doesn't quite get you there.
Yeah, and like in the times you get there are because of like critical misplay or because you had so much advantage and people just could not stop you, or like turn order or seat position or like a lot of factors that felt really outside of my control. Like I had a very light hand in controlling at the very least.
Yeah, because I would say Chainer definitely falls into that third category of like more of a specialist where like he looks like he generates advantage because he can play out of the graveyard, but doesn't actually because you're pitching a card.
Yeah,
you're like pitching a card to pick up a card, so you're just kind of like trading 1 for 1. So he's like more of a specialist in that regard. He allows you to abuse different interactions with the graveyard. He doesn't actually give you anything from the graveyard.
Which I stand by. Like, if the format turns into aggressively, like, rule of law is going to be at every single table, it becomes the best Rakdos commander again, because I'm going to be doing the same thing every single turn. Like, my one card I draw, my one action I'm going to do, it's going to be repeated at the same time. We're all slow. I'm going to be able to generate more advantage, but even then, like, is that better than playing, like, Thrasios? Is that better than, like, Warnog, you know? Like those kinds of things where it's like, is that special thing, is that synergy that you're creating better than like the baseline standard of like play a Thrasios, pass the turn, hold up interaction, draw card, you know, like the bare bones basic, is it better than that? And I think that was the key point, because as I've worked on and as I've played Baby Pod, I have found myself in a lot of positions where I'm like, I don't need to go for my win. I've got clues I can crack. Like, I have Thrasios. I've started thinking as Warnog is like white-black Thrasios with Training Grounds, because like I just have these draws stacked. Like, sure, it's telegraphed. Sure, it generates dockside advantage, but like I'll draw cards eventually. I will find like I will have times where I'm like, cool, I need to hold up like this Endurance or like the Swords to Plowshares, and I just have extra mana. I'm like, I'm just gonna start cracking clues. You know, just start generating advantage that way. And it was that like critical play pattern of being able to maintain and slowly push your advantage that I was really it just didn't click for me for the longest time.
Yeah, I think that it really just goes to show, right, like your journey from I'm gonna play Chainer and then like these other like level, these like tier 3 commanders up until like you're moving up into like just the tier 1, 2 stuff where you're like, all right, I have to play commanders that either generate me advantage or they're gonna win me the game outright. And
playing 2 commanders that say draw cards on them is pretty cool.
It is. It's pretty strong. Pretty strong.
Tangent about Baby Pod. So I think at this point I can solidly say I like the babies more than I like playing Timnatana. Timna's good. Timna's a very, very good card. Don't get me wrong. I think the utility that like you were trading raw card advantage for utility, and I think the utility beats out the raw card draw. Like we draw just enough cards, we play just enough value engines, that we're able to keep afloat. And when everybody walls up with all their dorks and stuff, I don't have to worry about my attackers getting through. I don't have to play like dedicated attacker cards. And Max is just such a good card. Holy shit! Like Max is so good.
That's such a funny shift because I remember when you first started putting it together, you're like, this card does nothing except untap Bloom Tender.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's so mid.
And then I started untapping Bloom Tender and winning games off of untapping Bloom Tender. So much so that I'm playing Fabro Elder now.
Yeah.
Like it's so good. It's just so good, and it's like it's a relevant stat line. It's Chainer. It's a 3/2 with haste in the command zone, which is sometimes relevant. So like there's that part that's really funny. And it's 3 CMC, so it pods. It hits a lot of specific boxes that the deck is trying to look for. That like sure you have to pay mana to draw cards and you have to be able to like activate artifacts, but like honestly, if a Stony Silence is on the battlefield, I'm just stacking clues and I'm gonna get a Dockside Trigger and then kill the Oof or like Culling Ritual everything away and just win from like the 20 mana I've made. It's like I don't really care, you know.
Yeah, Culling Ritual's a hell of a card in that deck for sure.
It's so good. But yeah, so like it's definitely interesting because I have been looking at like that journey that I've taken, and it has absolutely been a journey of highs and lows and like discoveries and like figuring stuff out. And it's just it's been interesting. I've really been enjoying my time with CEDH once again. We talked about it during the Burnout episode, but even now, like I look forward to playing so many games with the babies. It's just fun to play. Like I love and that was the thing for the longest time is like I know my playstyle. It's mid-range toolbox. Why am I not playing the best mid-range toolbox I can possibly build? Which I think is the babies in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely agree. That's I feel like that's a hard thing to swallow to some extent. You're like, yeah. I'm gonna be doing the same thing that everyone else is doing, and especially like we were talking about how some of the other colors like Teamer just don't have great win conditions, which is really unfortunate. Like Wizards just needs to print better cards that win the game efficiently in those colors.
There's so many cool Teamer commanders. There are so many cool commanders in Teamer.
Yeah,
you can't win the game with any of them if you don't have Thrasios in the command zone.
Or Thrasios or like Malcolm has a really compact combo with Glinthorn Buccaneer, right?
But you have to play Tana.
Like,
Tana's a bad card.
Well, sure, but I mean, I think that some of it is like it'd be interesting to see like some really good efficient win cons that get printed that only work with certain commanders in other colors. So like Tivit's the only Esper commander that's comboed with Time Sieve, and that's cool, and it gets to play Thoracle as well. Why can't we see something in Bant that's like super good? Like this only works with like this Bant commander, but it's not Hullen because it's the only viable Bant commander right now. And
Revi though,
that card is unplayable as a commander in my opinion. I was trying to, when the ring got printed, I was trying to figure out a way to abuse that. I just think that the list just folds to too many X factors that develop throughout a game naturally. Like if someone has just one more blocker than you can feasibly get around without sacrificing something you need, you're gonna lose the game. There's nothing you can do about it. And it's just, then if you're like, oh well, we can abuse Derevi Flickers, like I guess you could, but at that point, why not just abuse Flickers with like Hullen? Because it also, you can like do the like draw cards as you cast and then bounce your thing back. You cast your White Mane Lion and bounce your thing back, like, and just play like a stronger stack score. Or I don't know, I would just love to see like, I would love to see something cool get printed that like wombo combos with a Bant commander. But I think part of the problem too is like in order to do that, they have to print a Bant commander that isn't garbage. They just keep printing the same cards that says once per turn or something. It makes me so sad.
God, so I feel like I just want like a really good Jund commander. All the Jund commanders are like, you have Korvold. That's about it.
That's Korvold cracked, but yeah,
Korvold's a really good card, but like it's just not for me. Like I just want like the perfect Jund pod commander or like the Jund lands commander. That's like good. That's not Lord Windgrace.
Yeah. I am very excited. But we are getting a Bant commander for the Holiday Lord of the Rings box. There's a new Galadriel that got spoiled. And she actually looks like she's pretty strong. Still missing a lot of the things that one would hope for in a commander, but She does generate advantage. She generates mana and card advantage,
We like
and
those.
power advantage.
We like those.
But she only generates each of those once per turn.
Mhm.
So that's a little sad. Yeah, it's weird.
Mhm.
The card basically says 5 mana for a 4/4. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get to either make 3 green, put a 1/1 counter on your team, or scry 2 and then draw a card.
Mhm.
But you can only achieve each of those effects once per turn. So it's cool. She does combo with Food Chain, which is interesting. So that's kind of neat.
each one resets. Okay.
Yeah, you can like make infinite mana, and then you can reset her and cast her from the command zone. So like she's cool.
And then like your food chainer just like okay.
But like yeah, I don't know that if I'm gonna be playing Food Chain and Bant, like why not just splash black and add Atraxa, because that card generates way more advantage.
And I was gonna say, I feel like especially with that instance, you have to go again. Like, is it better than the baseline of adding another color, playing a higher quality card in the command zone or cards in the command zone, and having access to like a 4th color of mana, having access to a whole nother suite of really powerful staples? Is the synergy so much, or like the advantage it generates so unique and uninteractable that it's worth it? I mean, Magda comes to mind a lot when I think about like the specialist, like it plays a lot of cards that really only Magda can play. I would say it's efficient, it's efficient, not it's sufficient in like what it tries to do, and it plays on a very weird and hard to interact with axis that if you don't know what Magda does, you're gonna get rolled by it.
Just opt them. Just opt them.
Just
kill the dwarf.
Kill the Magda. Like just
Yeah.
Mayhem Devil. GG.
Yeah, but no, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think part of it is like WotC R&D needs to get better at understanding card design from a competitive perspective, even though they aren't building cards for a competitive commander. It's like
it's not the first.
Our vision,
it's not the first thing that they would consider for a lot of
absolutely not. But like at the same time, it's like if you're putting a commander out with 1 or 2 or 3 colors, and you're like, I want this card to be played in commander. If you want it to see play in the competitive sphere at all, you have to like make that card like
so much.
At least 1.5 times more powerful than you think you should. Like if someone, because I'm gonna be honest, if Urza got printed today, if it didn't already have all the support, like even now it's already fallen off a lot. Still a great card, very powerful. But even with all the things that it does, like we look at this card and we're like, yeah, but it's only 1 color. Like I wish it did more. And that's so tragic. Is like they keep printing these commanders that give you access to all the colors, and you get all these amazing cards in all these colors that are just generically good, and you can build these just piles of cards in 4 or 5 color. We need commanders in 1, 2, or 3 colors that incentivize us to play those commanders. Tivit is a great example.
I think Tivit's a shining example in that department.
Yeah, it's like it has a 1 card combo, it generates advantage, and it is hard to kill. It has evasion, and it is massive.
It also
that's just
is able to lean on the quote unquote best. It's the most compact and efficient win condition in the format as a fallback.
Historical. Yeah. Like that is a fantastic example. If they want it, if anyone out there from R&D is listening, if you want competitive EDH players to play more Bant, more Teamer, things like that, that aren't partners, then you need to be printing like one-off legends that do so much more than you think they need to be doing.
Insane things.
Especially if they're specifically in the color pies that exclude black, because in black you can tutor up up a way to win the game. It gets a lot easier. But if you want us to play Bant, if you want us to play Teamer, if you want us to play I feel like there's one more shard that's excluding black, but I'm blanking on it right now.
Naya?
Yeah, if you want us to play Naya, things like that.
I actually think Naya's
Rocco is great.
Yeah,
Rocco's
a
really good.
great first step.
Rocco's really good. It does a lot. It's an elf. It tutors up whatever you need in the command zone. It combos with Food Chain. Like it is fantastic. But it's also like the only commander in Naya that sees play. Yeah. I can't think of the last time I played against another commander in Naya. Oh, that's not true. Shalai and Halar.
I was gonna say Atla Palani.
I don't think I've ever played against an Atla Palani deck in my life.
I killed them because I had activated Sleeper in my hand and they killed their own Solitude. In response to all the triggers they put in the stack, I went, cool, activate Sleeper, it'll be a copy of Solitude. I'm gonna kill the guy.
Oof. God, that's just brutal.
I laughed so hard. I'm just like, holy shit, this is gonna happen.
Crying.
That's insane.
Wild.
Yeah, so like I I think for every color they subtract from 5 colors, it needs to be nearly twice as powerful for every color they lose. But also, I think the easiest way to see how a lot of those weirder niche commanders see play, the partners, man, are just gotta get banned. Like, that's the only thing. Like,
I don't even feel like the partners are necessarily all that problematic anymore, because I feel like we've kind of crept up to like all the partner pairings are established, right? Like, unless they print more partners,
which I don't think they will. They'll be monocolor, if anything.
And yeah, and if they, as long as they're not dual color, like, we're honestly kind of chilling. Like,
you think so?
Even I think so. Like, Malcolm's really strong, but he pairs with what, like 5 cards, and that's kind of like all you see him paired with. TNT does its thing. Thrasios and Crom does its thing. Like, all of these partner pairs, like, you see it, and they're all doing the same thing within like a range, right? So you know how to play against them just because of like what they're paired with. I would love to see more cards that do unique things that are single commanders. Like, I think Dihada was honestly a fantastic card to be printed. I think it is very strong. It lends itself to a very specific strategy, and it's very flexible within that. Like, you're doing breach stuff. That's great. It makes mana for the breach. It puts cards in the field for the breach.
It's got 1 card combos with breach.
Yeah, more or less. One other piece.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with the Dihada, but it's really cool, and it's different. Like, not everyone's going to be playing Dihada, but when someone does bust out Dihada, like, you're like, oh, that's kind of different. Like, I've played against it before, sure, but because it's viable, right? Not because everyone's playing it. Whereas I think something like Thrasios and Dargo, or Thrasios and Crom, or Timna and Crom, or something like that, like, those are all like, yes, we know they're like very, very good and they all do the best things, so like, I'm gonna respect it, but it's not unique. It's like, you chose these partners because they're the best at doing this thing.
You chose the baseline.
You chose like, this is like the most powerful thing you can be doing in these slices, so that's what you're playing. And I get that. That's fine. I respect the hell out of that. It's just not, it lacks that, like,
lacks
that
the
flavor.
Pizzazz, the
it lacks that
flair.
You sit down at the table and people go, oh, that's really neat. Like, I've not seen this before. That's cool.
Yeah.
And I just wish we had more of those. I know that obviously not everything can, but like, even Shalai and Halar, because I see it, but like, not a lot. It's like, someone sits down and is like,
fringe
oh,
enough. It's just no.
Yeah, you're like, that card is really cool. It's also a specialist card where like, it doesn't, it 1 card combos with everything, right? But it's like, doesn't do a lot. You're kind of just relying on your core to be strong. So,
well, and that's why I've always been a proponent of like getting rid of that baseline, because again, like, if I have this super cool, if I have Brea, for example, and I think Brea is the coolest card in the world, and I really want to play it, like, your comparison is Blue Farm, just straight up. And so you have to ask yourself, like, the specialist question: is what I'm doing powerful enough, unique enough, fast enough, access different enough that it is better than just 1-for-1 swapping my commanders with generic partner draw and having that be good? And I think that gatekeeps a lot of the interesting things, to a degree. I will say to a degree, because I think a lot of people overlook this. If it was better than the partners, we wouldn't see the partners everywhere. It would be known, I think, at this point, to some degree. I think CDH is still small enough, and we're still developing, we're still figuring stuff out enough that, like, there's obviously still time for it, and there's still room for it. I'm not saying it has to be done like last week or whatever, but if there was something that was generically better than the partners, or unique enough than the partners, I should say, actually, we would have seen it. Shalai and Halar is a great example. Tivit's a great example. Like, when was the last time you saw, like, Malcolm Timna? Yeah, Malcolm Timna.
I've played against it pretty recently, actually.
Okay.
I think that deck's super cool.
But like that, I think about the debate between like Malcolm Timna and Tivit is a good example.
Tivit is just mechanically better.
I would agree so. But again, it's Tivit, and that card is insane. Like,
right?
Like, yeah. and that's like the threshold that we're looking for. Like, we're looking for Tivit power levels in terms of flexibility and what it offers, or we are looking for like Corvold levels of breakneck speed. You know? Yeah,
no, I would definitely agree with that. And I think that, once again, it goes back to like that level up moment for you, where you're like, okay, well, I recognize that this is just the best thing that I can be doing, so I should probably do the best thing I should be doing if I want to win games. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the do you want to play for fun or do you want to try and win? And that's I think the answer is like you can have fun and not win, and you can win and have fun. I think is really what it comes down to. It takes a while to internalize the message of like so long as you are playing what you like and you think it is good enough, like you will succeed with the deck.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too, like just testing and finding like different ways to push cards that you think are cool into the realm of playability, right?
Mhm.
Like I've I have toyed multiple times with the idea of just playing Cloud of Fairies. Like I think that card is really cool.
I think the
Okay,
card is really cool. I
that
like it.
it's a 1/1 flyer that can draw you a card from your hand, or it is a free cast. Also, it pitches to force.
Counterpoint. It triggers Talion.
Okay,
I think Cloud of Fairies is legit. I
I
like
think
it.
it's cool.
I think it's super cool.
I would love to find a way to force that card to work in CEDH, but I just haven't yet. It's not to say I won't. I might someday. Like they'll print a card 4 sets from now and be like, "Holy shit, Cloud goes insane with this."
Cloud
And
is
so,
untap
like,
land, right?
it's untap 2 lands.
Untap
It
2
enters the
land, okay.
battlefield. Yeah, it's a really neat card. It's just a matter of it doesn't quite get there, and I'm looking. I'm trying to make this card work.
I think if there was ever a list to make Cloud of Fairies work, it would be your list.
I'll find a way. I'll find a way.
I mean,
Life
it
finds a
untaps
way.
Cradle. How bad of a card can it be if it untaps
That's
Cradle?
what I'm saying. Unfortunately, Cradle's not always out. I think there are definitely other lists that one could play that make it better. And so I've been looking around at other commanders, but I still like it goes back to the whole like I want a good Bant commander. I love the Bant color combination. It does kind of everything I want it to do. It's just not quite viable enough
Mhm.
for my like spike mentality to where I think I can play a Bant commander that exists right now and win a lot of games.
Mhm,
I think
mhm.
that's like just a little too far on the fringe. So
Do you
print
think
me a Bant Tivit.
I was about to say like you're looking for Bant Tivit, or I guess the flip side of that is you're looking for a time C for an already established Bant commander.
Yeah, something like that. And it's not going to be with the Revi. There's nothing I think that they could print that would be reasonable to exist as a solo card
Mhm.
that would go with the Revi. I think a lot of the commanders for Bant right now just don't lend themselves to being able to 1 card combo off.
Mhm.
Like they may generate advantage in a unique way or like be kind of cool as far as like the specialty that they provide, but there's nothing right now that lends itself super well to a 1 card combo
Mhm.
that's like efficient, right? And so I think maybe they'll give us something in the next like year or two that'll like 1 card combo with Walking Ballista, or a 1 card combo with something else out there that's like only sees like marginal levels of play, or maybe doesn't see any play at all yet. It's just a matter of time, but we haven't gotten there yet. And it makes me sad.
So the answer you're looking for is the Reliquary Knight and Coral Helm combo.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I don't think I like that.
guess.
I think the combo is sweet. I've always loved that combo. I think it's super cool. I don't think you do anything in Commander with it.
Rec
though.
Knight can't be my commander. That's the problem.
Yeah, but if they print
And it's
Rec
also
Knight-
not banned.
well the combo is banned because Nether Reliquary is green white and Coral Helm
Yeah.
is blue. So like
Give
it is
them both partner. I agree.
honestly,
It'd
I
still be
think I'm
pretty
fine
bad.
with that existing in the command
Still
zone.
be
at this
pretty
point.
bad.
Yeah, it's probably not be great, but it's cool. It's interesting.
Might be playable adjacent. I don't
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Also, like, does Bant have a lot of the tools like necessary? I guess you have like green. I guess you have like blue and white, which is like a good basis for any amount of like tools to interact with the game, right? Because you get Drain of Magistrate, you get Swords to Plowshare, you
Yeah,
get Soul
you have
Partition, counter
white
spells.
and blue, which is like the best interaction and stacks pieces in the
Mhm.
game, and then you get green, which is like the next best stacks pieces in the game.
Plus, you get all the
with
creature
some-
combo pieces as well.
Yeah, some good tutors and
You get to
some
play
unique
Wargate and Bant.
interactions. You do get to play Wargate. That's pretty cool. But once again, like, what's my commander doing?
Yeah. And at that point, you're just like, well, I don't have like a generic. I don't have a I can do Thrasios Ishai, Thrasios Arden,
Yoshimaru.
Yoshimaru.
Thrasios Yoshimaru is
Thrasios
probably the
Yoshimaru,
best
yeah.
Bant commander setup right now, just because like you have Thrasios
Mhm.
and then Yoshimaru creature like evos into one of your many 2-mana cost win the game cards.
Evos into the most impactful mana cost for a creature, just 2 CMC.
Yeah, but it's also not cool. I'm playing Thrasios in the command zone. It's not cool.
I mean, I agree. I'm
looking for flair. I'm looking for zing.
I played my fair share of Thrasios. I don't perk up at the thought of playing Thrasios in the command zone.
I just find it. Is it a very good card? Yes. Do I find it incredibly boring? Also, yes.
These things can be true.
Yes, I like holding up 4 mana to counter your spell and then spin Thrasios at end step is very good. And by all rights, it meshes with my playstyle very well. But I just find that card so mechanically, like, it's such a snoozer. Like, you resolve a Thrasios and you have 4 mana, and everyone knows what you're going to be doing for the next 4 turns until you're ready to present a win.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not exciting. There's nothing flexible about it because this is your game plan every time. There's nothing unique. You just make infinite mana and win the game. Like, not to bash Thrasios players out there.
No, we're bashing.
I know you
a little.
exist.
We're bashing
You're all okay. A small bit.
A small bit. Like 5%.
Choose more dynamic cards.
Yeah. Like it's. I don't know. I feel like with as simple as it is to like infinite mana, like Thrasios is such a lighthouse for moths. You know, it's so easy to be like, well, infinite mana is like the easiest thing to like combo within the game because you achieve God mode through any sort of magic card that has relevant text on it at all anytime. So like, and it is the best use and the most accessible use case for infinite mana. So it's strong. It's a reason Thrasios is a pillar of the format, but like, no, I get it. Like the playstyle is, I don't like it either. It's boring. It's boring.
Yeah.
Warnog's way more dynamic commander though.
What is?
Warnog,
yeah. Well, I was gonna say that's kind of my level up moment that I had a while back, right? It's like I'm playing all of these like staple good cards, playing like just things that one quote unquote should be playing, right? Like back a year or two ago, I was still playing Ad Nauseam and all these things, and I was just like, I just don't enjoy playing these cards, and so then I had to go and like find other ways to play the game because I wasn't having fun playing the game that way, and I lost a lot of games along that road. But when I finally found something that clicked and that like I enjoyed playing, that attacked on a different axis, that I found like engaging and not a snooze to play, that was like my level up moment. I was like, oh, so I can play the game and still have fun. Like, that's great. We love that.
What was that moment?
Well, I'm trying to remember. I do remember Hull Breacher got banned because I was playing Opus Thief, and that made me very sad. And then I was like, oh, I'll build Golos. And then like a week and a half later, Golos was banned. And then
actual timeline, by the way. Actual timeline.
Yeah. It was
the RC went crazy for a month.
It was wild how rapidly those cards got banned in succession. I was like, all right, Hull Breacher's banned. I guess I can't play Opus Thief anymore since the deck is dead. Golos seems fun. I can flicker it and put lands into play, and this seems really cool, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, well, Golos just got banned. So, well, fuck, I guess I'm playing Najeela now. Play Najeela. Najeela is a very good card. Najeela is relatively engaging to play. But then they printed Displacer Kitten, and I was like, this card looks so cool. And I started brewing a list around Displacer Kitten, and I just like, I turned the corner and I haven't looked back, and because it allowed me to play on a different axis than everyone was playing at that point. No one had any faith in the little kitty cat when it first got printed. They're like, this card's really good, and then no one played it. And it was like,
I remember
this is my time.
I remember the sentiment was like, this card combos with everything, and everyone like, I mean, it was like, oh, that's cool. This combos with everything.
Hey, what's Breach doing now?
Like,
yeah.
Like, the same thing it's been doing every single time is been looping LED and Brain Freeze. Yeah, no, I remember, because I just met you, right, when, like, you were starting your journey with Najeela. And I remember, like, the level of, like, enjoyment I see when you're, like, doing the Najeela thing versus, like, doing the Kenrith control thing it's a night and day difference.
I mean, Najeela is a very good card, but like your game plan is also like cast Najeela on turn 1 or 2, attack with Najeela, make warriors, try and combo off with the Revi, sometimes cast Ad Nauseam, sometimes cast Breach. Like it just is one of those 3 things. It just, you're always casting Najeela and then you're winning the game with some of the other combination. And it's like, this is fine, I guess. We
It
win
leans
games,
on the
but
core.
it's not
On the core.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of my like I've never been a fan of ad nause purely because now I just don't like casting the card, and I think you ask for trouble, unnecessary attention when you have ad nause, and you can't truthfully say you're not running ad nause. Because I'm like I don't want my game plan to be this one card, which is ironic because my game plan is Resolve Birthing Pod, but like there's nuance and there's play to that, I would argue. And you can win from you can pivot through a bunch of different. You're playing toolbox. Like the world is your oyster when you have your pod effect on the battlefield, or you have access to your toolbox. So in that regard, yeah, I like casting Breach, but I also think Breach is like the most flexible of like the usual core. I think you can do a lot of different things with it. Like you have the efficient things, obviously, and those are going to be good, but like
Yeah.
you have the window to do weirdo stuff with it, and I like that.
I was just about to say, I can truthfully say, while I do think Breach is like a basic win condition the way it's played most of the time, I think that the way that you can take lines and pilot them into a win out of kind of nowhere is very interesting to watch.
Mhm. It's also entertaining.
I do like solving the puzzle of, all right, I've resolved a breach, I think I can win from here, and like trying to make that work, especially as people are interacting with you and stuff, makes it really interesting. But once again, it just boils down to like the whole brain freeze thing. Like I honestly, I don't care if you're playing LED and you make 3 mana to escape, like blah blah blah.
I think LED is a cool card for Breach. I think it's so cool.
But I also don't want you casting brain freeze and then having that one card solve all of your problems for you. Like I would like to see some interesting, like thought-provoking game actions of like, all right, they're doing this. Does that mean that they're just value breaching and trying to set up till next turn, or are they literally winning the game right now? And I don't understand it. And with LED and brain freeze and breach, that's just not something that occurs. You crack your LED, you escape your brain freeze, you win the game. That's how that combo works. And with intuition into Savine's Reclamation, as long as you have access to white, it happens even more easily. Now, is Savine's a cool ass card with breach, and
Absolutely
do I care?
It is.
No, that's totally fine. You can play Savine's Reclamation with breach if you want to. I just hate the card brain freeze in a world where breach exists. I think it sucks all creativity out of the lines, and I think it is a really like stupidly hard to interact with card for that combo, for how resilient it already is.
Yeah, you have access to your entire graveyard. You have access to every play you've made previously, so long as you have the material. Like it's
multiple times.
Multiple times. Oh my god! Heaven forbid.
It's not a Yawgmoth spell.
Heaven forbid you have a Pact of Negation in the yard because you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. You need exactly beside you, and they need to not have SWAT. Which they might have SWAT if they're on breach. If I'm being honest, like what's a red deck that's like playing breach lines that doesn't have SWAT? Like Kenrith Pile, maybe.
None.
No, probably
I can't
not.
think of one.
I can't think of one.
Because maybe a Kenrith deck, but
is Blue Farm on SWAT? I don't think Blue Farm's on SWAT.
Yes.
Oh, are they on SWAT
and Guardianship? Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. I haven't looked at what stock Blue Farm is doing these days because I imagine it is like, oh guys, we have Soul Partition now. It's kind of cool, and like that's like the most recent development for Blue Farm. I'm
not even sure that most of the lists are on Partition.
I don't even think they're on that. I just like that's like the most like generic good card that slots into Blue Farm. I don't know what Blue Farm plays these days. I'm too busy tapping my Kiki Jiki.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think that like as a counterpoint to level up though, I feel like I've experienced a level down moment. Like
really,
I've regressed. Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like every time I take a game action in the past like month and a half, I just get punished for it. I don't know if it's just my game sense is gone for whatever reason, or like my karma's been tapped out. But bro, it's just I've just been on a feels bad streak. Like, all right, this mulligan seems fine. I think I'll keep it, and then it doesn't matter. It just doesn't stop what needs to be stopped. Or oh man, let me tell you a story about how I have gone fourth every game I've played for the last 2 weeks, except for like
that's
2.
Tough. And
I've played a lot of games of Magic in that period of time.
But yeah, because you went to a tournament last weekend.
I went to a tournament, went fourth every round. I played in like a bunch of casual games with our group, just over the weekends or whatever, and went last in all of those. And then I think I finally I finally broke the streak, and I went like third a couple games in a row, and then I got to go second one whole ass time, and then I went back to fourth. And it's like I
That's
just
so
cannot
tough.
catch a break, dude.
That's so tough.
That's it's RNG.
It might just be like, okay, you've had your insane streak. It's time to be humbled, maybe.
No!
Like the Magic universe is like, okay, we need to put you in check a little bit. Your mulligans are gonna be like 10% worse. You're gonna lose 15% more on your die rolls.
I feel like I've just been seeing terrible cards in every opening hand, like no landers, all landers. I don't know. I'm just gonna start risking it. What I gotta do is I gotta find some absurd new tech to just shove in there and like force my win rate back up because people won't know what hit them.
I was gonna say, I think like you have two options. You continue to grind through the bad RNG and just go, I am stronger than you are in Jesus, or you go to the kitchen and you start cooking.
Maybe we'll see. I gotta find some solution to break out of this slump though.
Yeah. Oh, I had this thought the other day, and I'm so bad at telling you these funny thoughts. Me and you both have individual cats in this game. You have Displacer Kid, and I have Felidar Guardian. I realized that the other day.
Should we put them on a play date?
Honestly, maybe. Like Kiki Jiki can watch over them or something.
Yeah, and send them to the cat park.
Yeah, no, I was just going through my list. I'm like, Displacer Kitten's 3 in blue. Felidar Guardian's 3 in white. These are like the same card, kind of.
They're
like,
literally both cats.
They're literally both cats. They literally both blink. My cat blinks more.
Beasts?
Are
they both cat beasts?
I don't.
Literally siblings.
Literally siblings. But no, I had that funny thought the other day. I'm like, that's kind of funny. Felidar Guardian. I'm actually curious now. Felidar Guardian.
Because I know Guardian's a cat beast.
He's a cat beast.
I do not remember if Displacer Kitten is just like a cat or if it's a cat beast.
They are both cat beasts.
They are
literally
related.
Siblings.
The same genetic chain.
Literally siblings. They both blink stuff. My cat blinks more things. It's any permanent outside of itself. Your cat triggers more and can blink itself, but it doesn't blink lands. They are literally cousins. They also both combo with ham sandwiches.
True.
They both combo with literally anything that does anything good.
Yeah. Oh, another weird tech that you shouldn't play, but you could play. Flame Shadow Conjuring.
Okay, so I wasn't looking at that card, but I was looking at I was re-looking at Jaxus again because I think Jaxus is really funny. Yeah, Flame Shadow Conjuring's cool. I'd consider playing.
Goes infinite with Felidar Guardian.
Let's go infinite with Felidar Guardian. ETB triggers on the stack Flame Shadow Conjuring below Felidar, blink a red producing land. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Because the OG the copy flickers your OG, which flickers your mana source, and then you can pay for the new Flame Shadow Conjuring.
No, Felidar just needs to blink any red producing land. You can just stack the triggers differently.
Yeah, it flickers a red source.
Yeah.
But like what it says, the token doesn't trigger the Flame Shadow, so you have to flicker your
yeah. So yeah, that does the
so
same
that it
thing.
triggers the Flame Shadow. Yeah.
Interesting. There might be a reason to go back on Arena Rector, maybe. Because I'm on the Enchantment Rector. I'm on the Planeswalker Rector right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't play it. The card sucks, but it's cool.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Some spice.
Yeah, it's absolutely spicy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to continue the Magic journey. I'm excited to continue the CDH journey. I know I have a lot to learn, and I've effectively put myself in the hard mode camp. Well, I've been on the hard mode camp because I refuse to play blue. But I don't know. That's just me. I've never liked playing blue. I will play blue. I don't like playing blue, so I'm gonna not. Even though that's like blasphemy when you have a vintage card pool.
Yeah, just play Force of Will. It makes games a lot easier.
It really does. And the more and more I play, and the more and more I try and push Sans blue, the more and more I'm like, Mystic Study and Mystic Remora and Force of Will do so goddamn much. They do so goddamn much. It's insane. Oh,
very good cards.
Oh well, I like Jank too much, I guess. I think I've leveled up to nothing more else I need to add.
Yeah.
All right. Well, wanna thank you, Atlas, for coming on, having a great conversation about our CDH journeys. Always a pleasure. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. We'll catch you next time.